Mr. Matt Walsh. The pedophile scandal in the Catholic Church is not a pedophile scandal. The vast majority of victims are post-pubescent teens and young men. The real problem in the church that everyone sees and few will say out loud is the gay priests. So apparently, even if it was just post-pubescent teens and young men, it's not pedophilia? That doesn't count to you? Where's your cutoff, Matt? Where do you set the bar for someone being a pedophile and abusing children? Interesting. So you probably saw that Matt Walsh has been trending for the last couple days. A lot of people on the left have been trying to point out that Matt Walsh engages in incredibly yikesy defense of both pedophiles and child abusers on a regular basis if they happen to be Christian. He has made statements about the Catholic Church that it's not a pedophile problem, that it's a gay priest problem. The problem's not that there's pedophiles and the Catholic Church has been defending them and protecting them for years and years and years. The problem is that there's gay priests, so we have to talk about that, not the pedophilia and the Catholic Church being complicit in that pedophilia and child abuse. He's also defended Josh Dugard, one of the stars of the 19 and Counting show, which was a Christian family that had 19 children, and it came out that one of the members of the family had sexually molested, I believe, one of his sisters, as well as another member of his family when he was younger, and then when he grew older, he was arrested a second time for having child porn on his computer, and Matt Walsh rushed to defend him. So Matt Walsh doesn't give two fucks about child abuse. He doesn't give two fucks about pedophilia. That is not what concerns him. Matt Walsh is deeply concerned with the genitals of trans children and also ruining the lives of trans people, spreading propaganda, and making a lot of money when he spreads propaganda. His most recent film, What Women Want, features a shot of a topless 15-year-old who he believes to be a young girl. It is, of course, a young man, but he features a shot of a topless 15-year-old used without that man's permission as well in the film. A lot of yikesy stuff. Now Matt Walsh and Libs of TikTok are doing a bunch of stuff where they've been tweeting out very, very aggressively about Boston Children's Hospital. In the last 5 days, Libs of TikTok has tweeted and retweeted 14 posts about Boston Children's Hospital. As a result, Boston Children's Hospital's providers are being inundated with death threats and harassing calls and emails. It's now affecting their services. This is stochastic terrorism, full stop. Tons and tons of things about how they're abusing people. Boston Children's Hospital offering gender-affirming hysterectomies to young girls. Boston is doing this. Boston is abusing children. It needs to be shut down. Here's a video of it. Here's another video of it. Needs to be shut down. Needs to be shut down. Needs to be shut down. And what a surprise when Libs of TikTok is doing this and putting them on blast, and when as well Matt Walsh is doing his campaigns, putting them on blast, they're getting inundated with death threats. Yeah. How will we ever know where these are coming from? How will we ever know where these attacks are coming from? In the interim, Matt Walsh is memeing about the entire thing, as I'm sure you know. He made a video, which is an entirely cringe-worthy old man meme called, "I Have Been Silenced."
After the excitement of my 1000th episode on Tuesday, tragedy struck. I woke up the next morning unable to speak. I had finally been silenced. Literally. The doctor said I had laryngitis. He said it's a minor illness. I should be fine in a few days. I tried to tell him that it might not be serious medically, but it's serious to me emotionally. But my words came out in squeaks and grunts, like a baby pig. I had never felt so marginalized. Those of us in the voice-depleted community, VDC, face this kind of erasure every day. Our trauma is real. Our lived experiences are valid. We are victims too. And you can never take that away from us. Yay! I will soldier on, in the face of bigotry and ableism. Yay! And my story will be an inspiration to millions. The show will be back soon. Godspeed. Hashtag.
What is this? Well, I mean, if he does have laryngitis, this is obviously an attempt to state that both I cannot speak right now because of my laryngitis, which would make sense, but also, why don't we do a little dig on the LGBTQ community, people with identities being respected for those identities, and show that, hey, isn't this kind of silly if I did it this way? Isn't it funny, everybody? I got memes. They're never going to go stale. It just gets funnier and funnier. So, Matt Walsh is completely fine defending pedophiles and child abusers if they're Christian, while obsessing over trans kids' genitals and healthcare. He's profited off transphobic propaganda that featured an unlicensed and topless photo of a 15-year-old. Mr. Matt Walsh. The pedophile scandal in the Catholic Church is not a pedophile scandal. The vast majority of victims are post-pubescent teens and young men. The real problem in the church that everyone sees and few will say out loud is the gay priests. So apparently, even if it was just post-pubescent teens and young men, it's not pedophilia. That doesn't count to you. It just, where's your cutoff, Matt? Where do you set the bar for someone being a pedophile and abusing children? Interesting. Here's articles from his defense of Josh Duggar. 3. I know I'm opening myself up to serious criticism here, but let me be honest with you. If my own son, God forbid, came to me and admitted doing what Josh Duggar did, I don't know I'd immediately run to the cops, would you? Is it that simple? The decision to have your child arrested as a sex offender would be an automatic thing for you? Really? I guess I'm just a horrible person then. Another thing. Many people look at them like they're freaks because they have 19 kids. Personally, I wish that all we had the courage to be freaks. That doesn't mean we have to have 19 kids, but it does mean we ought to be living and acting in ways that seem radical to our society. I don't see the Duggars as pretentious or holier than thou, snobbish, or whatever other stock insult freak-minded secularists always throw at devout Christians. I see them instead as people who have the gumption to live according to their convictions. They may not live it perfectly, but it appears they're trying, which is more than I can say for many in our culture. So go ahead and crucify the Duggars if you like. Burn them at the stake, rip them to shreds. I won't be joining you. And who's he talking about? Josh Duggar. Joshua James Duggar is an American convicted sex offender and former reality television personality, the eldest of Michelle and Jim Bob Duggar's 19 children. Josh Duggar was the executive director of FRC Action, a lobbying political action committee sponsored by the Family Research Council. He left this position when the news broke that he had molested multiple underage girls, including a victim under 5 years old when he was aged 14 to 15. These revelations led to the cancellation of 19 Kids and Counting. Duggar's publicity woes were named one of the 10 big scandals of 2015 and one of the 15 most hated people on the internet of that year. On April 29, 2021, Duggar was arrested by the U.S. Marshals on charges of receiving and possessing child pornography. He was found guilty on all charges of December 9th, 2021. He was sentenced to over 12 years in prison on May 25th, 2022. So that's who Matt is obsessed with defending. Now, Matt is big mad about all this kind of stuff. I'm obsessed with stopping people from mutilating and sterilizing children. I'm obsessed with this because I'm not a degenerate goblin like you. How do you feel about 13-year-old girls having their breasts chopped off? Totally cool with it? Let's get you on the record, buddy. So he is obsessed. There's no question about that. But one thing the right is obsessed with is owning the libs and the left. Ponage, if you will. That's what they really care about. It's been a huge thing since 4chan culture was doing all these troll jobs, grew into 8chan culture, Kiwi farms, you name it. They're always obsessed with liberal tears, leftist tears, and owning them. Constantly owning. That's why he would make a little video like that where it's like, hey, I have laryngitis, blah, blah. I will add, by the way, they cannot take it in the opposite direction. Not sure if you saw this, but Keffels wrote underneath this one, I'm obsessed with racially known child abuser Matt Walsh. And of course, Ray showed Matt Walsh once again, because Keffels has that superpower on the internet, which is why she's a frequent target of the right and the far right. And bam. That was enough. That was enough for Matt Walsh to be like, you know, big, strong Christian nationalist Matt Walsh, theocratic fascist, self-described Matt Walsh could not take a single ratio by a trans woman on the internet. That was enough for him to be like, can't have this. This is too much. Snowflakes. They're snowflakes. Absolute snowflakes. And again, they're running cover for actual pedophiles, child abusers, because if they're Christian, they can't be that bad. You know, forgive them. They know not what they do. You know, they're still children of the flock. But when it comes to invading the private lives of trans children, inspecting their genitals, all that kind of stuff, well, that's just a moral crusade, apparently, on the other end. So there you have it. There's Matt Walsh.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demmel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojack, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.